It was a test. Cruel, calculated, and cold. In the stillness of a marble-floored mansion in the suburbs of Boston, beneath a glittering chandelier and the rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock, a safe stood wide open in the study of an old estate. Inside, bundles of cash gleamed under the morning light, resting beside strings of pearls and diamonds that caught the sun like fire. The man who owned it all, Nicholas Grant, a self-made millionaire known for his ruthless success, stood hidden in the shadow of the hallway arch. His expression wasn't angry, it was curious, almost hungry to see what truth would unfold. He knew she would come. He knew her schedule down to the minute. Every Wednesday at exactly 8:45 a.m., she dusted this room, rearranged the books, and polished the silver picture frames on his desk. Today, he wanted to see what she would do when, faced with the kind of temptation that had destroyed so many before her. Her name was Elena Parker, 34 years old, quiet, reserved, with chestnut hair tied into a simple bun and eyes the color of rain-soaked earth. She had been working at the Grant estate for just over 9 months. A single mother of 2 with a sick father in hospice, Elena carried a world of struggle in her silence. Every day she arrived before sunrise, put on her modest gray uniform, and moved through the mansion like a whisper, graceful, invisible, and steadfast. To most, she was just the help. To Nicholas Grant, she had become a puzzle he couldn't solve. Nicholas was a man who trusted no one. Betrayal had carved deep scars into his life. His business partner had once embezzled millions. His ex-wife had taken his home in the divorce. And even his own brother had sold family secrets for money. So Nicholas built walls, high, cold, and unbreakable. When Elena arrived, he had studied her the same way he studied his competitors, quietly, carefully. She was honest, painfully so. Too clean, too pure, too disciplined. And somehow that unnerved him. He couldn't understand how a woman surrounded by such hardship could still walk with dignity and never once ask for help or pity. It was that mystery that led to his decision, the test. He ordered his security team to turn off the hallway cameras. He told his assistant to delay the cleaning crew. And that morning before she arrived, he opened his safe, left it unlocked, stuffed with cash and jewels, deliberately inviting temptation. Then he waited, hidden, watching. At exactly 8:45, Elena entered the study. The sound of her soft footsteps echoed across the marble. She hummed faintly, an old tune, something gentle, something from home. Then she stopped. The sunlight reflected off the open safe, and her eyes caught the shimmer. She froze. Her duster slipped slightly in her gloved hand. Nicholas could feel his heartbeat echoing in his ears. He watched her stare, not greedily, but with disbelief. Her lips parted slightly as she took a hesitant step closer. She looked around the empty room. Silence. Not a sound. Then she did something Nicholas hadn't expected. She exhaled slowly, as if steadying herself, and whispered, "Not mine." Then she reached into her apron, pulled out a small cloth, and began to clean the safe. Carefully, gently, wiping the edges with precision. She didn't touch the money. She didn't count the bills. She didn't even adjust a single stack. She simply cleaned just as she always did. Nicholas's chest tightened. He had expected hesitation, maybe temptation, but not this. Then Elena reached into her pocket again, this time pulling out a small folded photograph. The edges were worn, the paper creased. She looked at it for a long moment, her face softening, then placed it carefully on the shelf next to the cash. Nicholas leaned forward slightly. The photo showed 2 children, a boy and a girl, sitting beside an elderly man in a hospital bed. The kids were smiling, but there was sadness in their eyes. Elena touched the photo with her gloved fingers, whispered something Nicholas couldn't hear, and kissed the edge of the picture. Then she tucked it back into her apron, closed the safe gently, and went back to dusting as if nothing had happened. Nicholas stepped back into the shadows, breathless. He felt something in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years, a pull of guilt, admiration, maybe even shame. That night he couldn't sleep. The image replayed in his mind, her whisper, her restraint, the photograph. The silence between them felt louder than words. The next morning, Nicholas sat at his desk long before dawn. He stared at a blank sheet of paper for nearly an hour before finally writing a note. By the time Elena arrived that day, the letter was waiting for her on the kitchen counter, written in his neat, deliberate handwriting. Elena, integrity is rare, but when I saw it in you, it reminded me of what I've lost. Trust, faith, peace. You've given me all three in a single moment. Your children and your father deserve security, not struggle. Please accept the enclosed check, not as payment but as gratitude. It's yours to fill. Whatever amount brings you peace. Nicholas Grant. When she opened the envelope and saw the blank, signed check, she gasped. Her knees nearly gave out. She sat down at the counter, trembling. The letter pressed to her chest as tears filled her eyes. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to cry, not from pain, but from relief. It wasn't just money. It was acknowledgement. It was dignity. It was proof that goodness, even when unseen, could still be recognized. That weekend, Nicholas arrived at her modest apartment, not as a boss, but as a friend. Her children ran to the door, giggling and curious. Her father, thin and weak, tried to sit up to greet him. Nicholas smiled awkwardly and sat beside him. He spent hours there, listening, laughing, even fixing a broken chair leg with his own hands. He brought papers, the deed to a small house near the lake, already signed over to Elena's name. She protested at first, crying that she couldn't accept it. But Nicholas stopped her. "Elena," he said quietly, "you didn't take a penny when no one was watching. Now let someone help when everyone is." Over the next few months, something began to change, not just for Elena, but for Nicholas too. The mansion that had once felt cold began to feel like a home again. Laughter returned, warmth, trust. Elena became head of domestic operations. Her salary doubled, her hours flexible so she could care for her family. Her father began his treatment with proper care. Her children attended a better school. And Nicholas? He began to live again. He found himself visiting the lake house some weekends, not to check in, but to sit quietly on the porch, sipping tea with Elena and her father while the kids played by the water. He had spent his life protecting his fortune, but in that moment, he realized the real wealth was never in the safe. It was in the people who never opened it. Months passed, and one afternoon, Nicholas stood again in that same study where it had all begun. The safe was closed. The room was silent. But this time there was no test, only peace. He looked at the photo on his desk, the one Elena had framed for him as a gift. It was a picture of the lake house, the kids laughing, her father waving from the porch, sunlight filling the frame. Beneath it, she had written, "For when no one's watching, thank you for seeing." Nicholas smiled. For the first time in decades, his heart felt light. Sometimes the greatest tests are the ones we don't even know we're taking. And sometimes the greatest rewards are not in riches but in redemption. If this story touched your heart, take a moment, pause, like this video, share it, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Let the world know that integrity still lives. In the quiet moments, in the unseen choices, and in the people who remind us that humanity is never truly lost. And before you go, answer this in the comments. What would you do if no one was watching?